Thursday, August 8th, 2019 at 5 p.m. I'd like to call our meeting to order. If we could start by standing for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Just remind everyone that we are being broadcast live as well as being recorded for future rebroadcast. On our agenda, the student representatives, we are not bringing them back yet. A couple more weeks.
September, probably the middle of September.
Public comment, we have no public here today, so we're going to skip over that. Any old business anyone would like to cover? Or any new business not on our agenda? Okay. We'll move on to the superintendent's report. Mr. Maines.
Thank you. So there's two items on it, and if it's okay with you, they're kind of related, but I'm going to flip-flop them just real quickly, and I'm going to do the Chromebook update. I put this on there because earlier this week, Tuesday, had opportunity to speak with Senator Fatman. Senator Fatman has confirmed that the appropriation to support the purchase and apps and also the maintenance for Chromebooks at the middle school has been approved. It is in the budget. He contacted me, as a matter of fact, today. We are arranging to send in the documents that he needs from myself and Donna Souza sometime next week. He said that would be perfectly fine, and then we would have the process of the funding coming out and getting the Chromebooks, as many Chromebooks as we can for the $45,000 that they have provided us,
Yep.
which we believe should cover everybody in the middle school by including the ones that are presently there,
Right.
The 130 that are presently there.
Yes, I'd just like to thank Senator Fatman and Representative McKenna for their efforts on that. That's a huge, huge help for us.
So the only other thing I had about the Chromebooks was to thank Senator Fatman and Senator McKenna for their efforts in securing that. And I did convey to Senator Fatman that it was couldn't have come at a better time. It was desperately needed. It really has helped us. So, and I thanked him. And when we get everything taken care of, I will also send a formal thank you letter to him as well.
Great.
And then the other piece of what's on here is that the update on the fiscal year 19 and 20 summary and projections, which I'll turn over to Ms. Keegan.
Okay, when we went through the budget process, as you know, when we're starting it so early, we don't have any final figures for school choice, and we need to be conservative with regard to that. So we have reconciled all of the funds and accounts. We don't have the final summary reports, which will come to you next Wednesday. That is on the school committee agenda for next week. And I also just want to remind you as well that when it comes to school choice, the final reconciliation between DESE and DOR is in June. So that's right at the end of the fiscal year, as you know. Another thing I want to point out, and I do have the sheets I provided to you this evening right in front of you. And the new thing that I did do is I have separated the regular tuition receipts, which is $5,000 per student. And that, of course, can be sometimes lower if they don't start immediately on the first day. It's prorated. And also, I have delineated and separated out the special education increment. And the reason that I am doing that, and we need to do that going forward, is you can see from prior years, it has gone up dramatically. So it's very important to have that information delineated as well. And I don't receive that information either until the end of the year. So therein lies largest part of a difference there with regard to revenue. So we have updated the final FY 2019 revenues. In total is $915,675, and I've brought that forward for FY 20 as well, although that could change. And that's broken down to $637,400 in the regular tuition receipts and $278,275 for the special education. As you can see, moving down with the FY 19, we have now, as far as final expenditures in school choice after the reclasses, from school choice into the general fund to bring it down to zero. So the final amount of expenditures for school choice for FY 2019 is $286,076. And I did reclass $358,689.10 from the school choice into the general fund. So that's another difference there. And if you recall, when we were just working as a budget subcommittee, working on the final approved budget for FY19, we did figure conservatively some amount of carryover because we were trying to not, cut as much. So, but it still was higher than that, and it does change every year. So I've also updated, so those are your actuals for FY19, and then we're carrying the $1,731,671 forward into FY20 projection. And I'm carrying forward the same amount for revenue, the $915,675. And then the $1,246,000 is what we currently have in the general fund budget as offsets to come down to the amount appropriated from the town.
Right.
To have a balanced budget. So the fund balance ending for FY20 projection is $1,401,346. And if you look at the bottom of the sheet, I'm carrying that forward. And then Mr. Maines will be proposing to you some additional items to come out of school choice. He'll go over that in a minute. Most of it is positions we did have in prior budgets, but we had to reduce them to come down to the appropriate amount. So that comes out, the amount is $151,319, and that's, if approved, but I'm just delineating the figures here. So your updated FY20 year-end projection at this point, it could change, but at this point is $1,250,027. And then below that, all I did was, because we want to think prospectively, I have an estimated amount for FY20 year-end, reclasses, estimated FY21 revenues being very conservative, estimated FY21 expenditures, which is FY20 updated, plus 3%, just for magnitude, just so that we can see where we may end in preparing the FY21 budget and then going into 22, leaving an estimated carryover into 22. In other words, FY21 year ending of $810,788. So certainly those figures are subject to change. The only reason I provide that extra information for end of FY20 and going into 21 is I think it's very important for you to see something going forward so that we're not making decisions, not looking at anything prospectively. Because as you know, we are using school choice, as part of our budget. We have been for many years now, so I provided that information to you. And before we move on to Mr. Maines going over his recommendations, did you have any questions with regard to this particular sheet?
Yes, Becky, me and Lisa had a chance to go through this a couple days ago during our budget subcommittee meeting. So if you want a couple minutes to kind of absorb, or if you have any questions, that's fine.
No, I don't have any right now.
But I think Ms. Keegan's done a great job of laying this out for us, and again, I think we find ourselves in a, fortunate position where, again,
Due to
there's some
several
additional
things.
funding. Yeah, a couple
Yep.
of things that, again, you can't count on, and a couple that I was, actually quite surprised by, especially on the additional school choice revenue, so.
Yeah, the special ed has
Yeah,
gone way up
so
over the years, yeah.
It's good, so.
Are these numbers along the bottom? 100.6, 110.0, not your,
Now, where are you?
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
is
Oh,
that student?
good question. Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yes, it is. So actually, thank you for asking. So as you can see, the good news is, and actually, thank you for asking again, because there's another point I can make that's another good point. You can see how it has changed and how it went, how it was far lower in 2011, 100.6, and then it went up to 122, and then we started having the, financial issues that started going down again. But because of the strategic and very careful and judicious decision-making, both on the administration side and the school committee, I think that this kind of informs us that those good decisions are reaping some rewards. So now we're up to 127.6 FTEs. Now that says of 6/30/2019. I do know there's some more coming in, but I did not count on those in here. As you can see, below the line here, what I've written in, I'm very conservative on the revenue, and you know why I do that. Yep. So we won't be surprised. Better to be surprised on the revenue side than to have the negative surprise.
Right.
The other thing I want to bring to your attention too is on the cherry sheet for FY19, 19, school choice out, the assessment has gone down. Now, if I don't have it with me, but I believe it was, I don't know, if it's 95, 98,000. So a very, very good thing on the town side as well.
Yeah, you know.
So on both sides of the equation, that's excellent news, excellent news.
And the latest on the state budget was, I think, Chapter 70 went up by 38,000
Yes.
from where we were at
Yes.
budget time.
Right.
Which, isn't a tremendous amount and doesn't really change our appropriation from the town at this point.
No.
But it does put the town in a little bit better position. They are still, there are some education bills still out there that weren't addressed before they went on recess, which hopefully will be addressed quickly when they come back from recess, and who knows what that'll mean for us going forward. So, okay. All right. So, yeah, rather than jump into the positions, I guess let's just move on to the next agenda item, unless you have anything else for your report, Mr. Maines.
Yeah, so that's everything for the superintendent's report that
Okay.
we had.
Then we'll go to school committee and subcommittee reports. Lisa?
Accounts payable, on 6/30/19, I signed 4 batches totaling $38,668.53. Also on 6/30/19, I signed 5 batches totaling $130,094.08. And on July 18th, 2019, there was 2 batches totaling $7,334.18, and it was all just year-end
Yeah.
goodies.
So we are not closed yet for FY '19? We're not
She's
fully
just, the only thing left now is just for her to post all of it's over
Okay.
500 entries of, transfers it,
Okay, good.
So yes, I sent that to her this morning, and she might be working on it either today or tomorrow.
Okay.
So, we'll have everything for you that I generally bring.
Yep.
The final general fund report, the summary report of all funds and balances that I bring every year. And also, I bring you the trend history for both preschool and school lunch, because those are large program ones as well, to see how they are faring.
Great. Yeah, and we didn't put it on the agenda for this time, but I'll have it on the agenda for next time for our budget subcommittee report. We'll report on that next week, just so we have proper notice on our agenda about it. So with that, we'll move on to our consent agenda. We have our July 17th, 2019 meeting minutes. And I have just unburied my computer at home today, so I can get at it, but I haven't had a chance to yet, so I haven't looked at these yet. But does anyone else have any issues with any of the minutes last minute?
Did you see anything?
Did not know.
No, yeah, they look fine, yeah.
Okay, if there are no alterations to be made, I'll be looking for a motion to approve our school committee meeting minutes of July 17th, 2019. And a so moved would do that. Thank you. I have a motion from Kelly and a second from Becky. Trying to make it easy on you here, it's the summer. So, all right, so we do have a motion and a second. Any other discussion on these minutes? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Seeing none. Okay, back to Mr. Maines for proposed recall positions.
Okay, so the purpose of getting together
Actually, that's right behind your school choice sheet.
was to talk about, having met with the budget subcommittee on Tuesday, I think it was, and having an opportunity to take stock of Ms. Keegan's report and in the prognosis from the financial standpoint. We had talked about the possibility of bringing back, upon your approval, a couple of positions, and then I would speak to a couple of other proposals that I have. So the first thing that I would like the committee to consider is the position of the part-time nurse that is housed out of the Douglas Elementary School, bringing that position back. The department head stipends here at the high school, the school year clerk, which is shared between 2 buildings, the elementary school and the middle school.
How many department heads is that? You know?
There are 9 department heads at the high school. So all of the content areas, as well as guidance, special education, PE and health and related arts, all are represented.
Thank you.
Yep. And so I can speak to any of these if the committee has any questions as to the proposal. As you know, these were all things that were in the initial budget. They were something that we did want in the initial budget, but when we were asked to make cuts, there were some reluctant cuts that we made, and it would be beneficial to bring them back.
Just to clarify on the nurse, we have full-time nurse at each building, and then this is an additional
So
half-time.
if you recall, last year, you were, during the middle of the school year, Ms. Campbell and Ms. Brundage came forward and asked, because given the student enrollment at the elementary school and some of the significant medical needs that they have, it was becoming challenging for Melanie Brundage to meet all of those needs, and they documented the data and presented it. And you approved that position as a part-time position at the elementary school. Right, so that's a reinstatement of that position, or recall of that position, if that's better. The department heads have existed since forever. I should mention that in the NEASC report does speak to the importance of A, common planning time, B, structured common planning time under the auspices and direction of the department heads, which is very difficult. If we had cut the department heads, it would have ended up falling on Mr. Romano or Mr. Vega to divide it up and make it work. This would allow them to come back, and the other thing that we were cited on is the area of curriculum. Directly under the guise of the department chairs is the process of updating our curriculums, so bringing them back, that would be another thing that we would expect them to be taking the lead on. And the clerk's position, as you know, is the one that's shared between both buildings, in that we had eliminated that about 5-6 years ago. We brought it back last year. Very beneficial, really is very helpful, and we are proposing a modest increase of a half hour. She presently was working last year 6.5 hours. We would like to increase it to 7 hours if we could. And there are some times when she may be needed to help out special education or another building. This would allow us to do that. So those are recall positions. And I didn't know if you wanted to do them separately or not.
Yeah, so any questions on those before we get to any kind of motion or vote on these? Okay, again, these are all, in my mind, kind of pretty standard add backs. They're all things that, again, we let go at the end of the budget, or during the budget process. I guess reluctantly was the right word, but only because we had to, not because we felt they weren't needed. So I feel it makes sense to bring them back here, given where we stand with our school choice carryover from last year and the new revenues. So we can take a motion to approve all of the reinstatements together. So it would be for the 0.5 nurse, the department head stipends, and the full-time clerk being shared between elementary school and middle school, for a total of $71,318.97 for the FY20 budget.
So moved.
I think that'll do. So we have a motion to approve those positions.
Second.
From Lisa, and a second from Kelly. All right, any other discussion on these? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstain? Seeing none, we are approved.
Great, thank you very much. So the two additional positions, the first one is not at all a surprise to anybody because we've been talking about it for 2 years. One of the areas where we were looking to increase our opportunities for student learning was at the middle school and around the content areas of STEM, science, technology, engineering, and math. And we had hoped to add that as a related. It would be a program that students in all 3 grades would have exposure to it throughout the course of the entirety of the year. So 6, 7, and 8 students would all have an opportunity. As Mr. Delaney talked, it was an opportunity for students to break things, put them back together, and figure out why they went back together, to problem solve, to critical think. And it certainly is an area that we've been trying to get STEM into the building for definitely for 2 years that I've been as a superintendent, and honestly, before that, to be honest with you. But again, funding for staffing was limited, so we weren't able to bring it back on. I think this would be a great opportunity to finally bring STEM into the middle school, would go under the related arts, and would be something that all three grade levels would be exposed to. The second thing that we talked about, which was discussed at great length during the school year last year, was the opportunity to ensure that the middle school would all have one-to-one Chromebooks, and that the plan was to take the 130 Chromebooks that they purchased last year, transition them down to the elementary school for because they're keyboarded, to be able to use them for testing at the elementary school for the grades that tested. But because of the increase that we're getting from Senator Fat Man, that will only purchase enough Chromebooks to, I forget what the exact number was, 200 and something, I forget what she said it was. But total, we would have enough for everybody at the middle school. So we would keep the middle school Chromebooks there, add the additional monies that Senator Fat Man is giving us to ensure that everybody at the middle school has a Chromebook. So the proposal that we have for you is to purchase 115 Chromebooks that would go to the elementary school so they could use them for the testing period, as well as to be put into 4 carts so that they could be used by each grade level. So they'd be used all year long, but then they would be dedicated to the testing process during MCAS. So that being said, we weren't able to transition the Chromebooks down that we wanted to, but this will allow us now, with this purchase, to have a guarantee of Chromebooks that they can use for testing for all grade levels going forward. And the hope is that they would be purchased and that they would be sustained for 4, maybe even 5 years within the building, so that they'd have them in those carts for 4 or 5 years and could be used subsequently in subsequent years. The same thing at the middle school. Instead of a lease, which we do at the high school, we're going to purchase, keep them in carts. They would not go home, and they would be used again at the discretion of the teachers. But every student would have their own Chromebook there. And they would obviously use those during the testing period. So what we're looking to do is to purchase 115 Chromebooks at a cost of $30,000 to go into the elementary school, is really what we're asking for. The other piece of it is coming from the appropriation from Senator Fat Man. So there is no cost to the district for those other Chromebooks that we're going to get.
On the STEM teacher, so STEM would be a related arts
Right,
class?
right.
So it would be similar to music,
Correct.
physical
Art,
education,
yeah,
art,
yep.
all that.
Right.
So I'm assuming Mr. Laney is raring to go to integrate this into his schedule, or does he have some
Yes.
work to do with there, or?
Right, so they had 2 schedules
Yeah,
ready to go.
Yep.
And so depending upon what you decide tonight,
Yep.
they will roll out whichever one is the final decision.
okay.
And so, as I said, it would be an ongoing, all year long, the students would rotate through the STEM class. And the reason for the meeting tonight, which I very much appreciate everybody, including Mr. Villamere, being here to do this, is that if we waited to the 14th and posted it, it wouldn't be to the week before the start of the school year that we'd be able to begin the interviews. And we would virtually end up hiring somebody on the Friday before the start of school on Monday. This will give us the opportunity to begin the interviews in the middle of the week next week, and hopefully have somebody signed, sealed, and delivered by Friday of next week, which would give them plenty of time, a full week, to prepare for 3 grade levels of STEM activities.
Everybody had the same reaction.
But I should also mention that the beauty of this is that it also ties directly into the grant that was secured by the middle school, excuse me, the 3-year grant of $33,000. So we're not looking for additional monies for materials and supplies. That money will come out of that grant. And again, as we said when we talked about that the purchases that we make are purchases that would stay within the building, and it wouldn't. A lot of the purchases would be permanent supplies that would be in the building. And
So
so,
that was a $100,000 grant, which we were using $33,000 increments over 3
exactly.
years. Yeah.
And they will be ecstatic if we're able to come back and tell them that we have a dedicated STEM teacher. As you know, that material will also be used in our science classes, in our math classes.
Right.
Throughout the course of the year also.
Yeah.
But this would give us another avenue, which is to do it in the plan and the schedule that they've created is for the STEM, when the student has a STEM course, period, it's 2 days in a row, so that they would be able to
Okay.
basically see it as one long hour and a half block of time to do things. So they'd be able to keep their materials there, finish the activity, and then break it back
So
down.
are they getting basically with regards to related arts, they're getting 2 servings of STEM, 1 serving of physical education, 1 serving of art, 1
No,
serving
no,
of
they're
music,
actually getting 2 of
or
everything.
2 of
but
everything, okay. Just
What we're
the way
doing
you
is that
schedule it,
we're just
okay.
scheduling them back to back as opposed to a rotation that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 1, 2, 3.
Gotcha, okay.
Just, and what it does is because the experiments and the activities are long,
No, that
are
makes
a little bit longer, it should work out great.
There were only 3 related arts prior, so this is a
Correct.
4th related art for us, but we don't add any additional related arts time, so it's kind of going to take some hours away throughout the year from, or are we
Actually,
adding
no, it
more
will
related
not,
arts time?
it will reduce class sizes. The times will be will be the same.
Yeah.
The time that they'll be in those classes will be the same. 25%,
Yeah.
because you've added another one. But it's not like it's at a drastic expense of all the
No, but
others.
I just want to figure out
Yeah.
how it works with the schedule.
Yep.
So you're basically taking that, whatever time you were spending on related arts before,
Right.
divide between 3 classes, you're now dividing between 4 classes,
Right.
which is fine. I'm not questioning that. I'm just
Right.
trying to make sure I understand, where we're getting the hours to
Right.
teach STEM now. Are we taking it away from our standard classes, or it's coming from the other related arts classes?
So,
Which,
yep.
again, makes sense.
Which will work out really well. The other thing that I was going to mention with regards to that was that they with the STEM going into the rotation and the teachers being able to use it in science and engineering and math, we are really well aligned for that Northwest Educational Association grant, because now we're actually going to do more STEM than we originally thought we were going to be able to do, which I think they're really excited about that as well.
Okay. So, this, again, in my mind, feels like another layup for us, so I'm not going to belabor it anymore, but thank you for entertaining my questions there and clarifying things. Any other questions, comments, discussion? Okay, if not, I'll be looking for, let's do these separately. So we'll be looking for a motion to approve the full-time STEM teacher at the middle school at an estimate of $50,000 for the FY20 budget.
So moved.
We have a motion from
Second.
Kelly and a second from Becky. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstained? Seeing none. And now we are looking for a motion to approve the purchase of 115 Chromebooks for the Douglas Elementary School at an estimated cost of $30,000 in the FY20 budget.
So moved.
We have a motion from Lisa
Second.
and a second from Becky. Any other discussion?
Excuse
Yeah,
me,
sorry.
actually, I'm sorry, wasn't even paying attention to that part of it. To be paid, do you want to put the funding source?
Oh, yeah, so the funding source on all
Yeah.
of these will be from school choice at this point.
Yes.
So, just to clarify that. So, I am looking for that same motion with that clarification, and did we already have the motion?
Yep.
We did,
This,
okay, so
this
we had the
is
motion in
Becky.
the second, and we had the clarification on it. So, if there's no other discussion, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed or abstained? Seeing none, we are approved.
If I could just add one final thought, and I shared this at the Budget Subcommittee meeting. With the fortunate circumstances that we have, in essence, what the committee has just done is kept us whole from last year,
Yep.
added an academic learning experience for 3 grade levels, so we're moving forward, which was always the concern that we had from the very beginning. And for $30,000, in essence, we have purchased 200 and 300 and something Chromebooks, which is a really strong return on our investment. So I'm ecstatic. I think this puts us in very good stead, and I greatly appreciate the committee's willingness to go and coordinate Ms. Keegan's work on this, on a very pragmatic solution to what was, I think, a problem. And I think I want to thank everybody for their willingness to do so.
I think it's great that we're able to continue kind of acting on your vision for moving the district forward, even if it's not in huge chunks at a
Right.
time, but any incremental step, I think, helps
Still going
us
forward.
just keep moving in the same direction and keep that momentum, and it's a good thing.
Yep.
So,
And it's being shown in the school choice in numbers.
Yeah.
Right.
How
And
strong,
out. Both
how
sides,
strong
right.
this district is despite our budget issues.
Yes.
And saddling in with it as well, the decision that the committee made with regards to user fees, and that, I think, will help with participation as well. I see that as a move forward as well, and I think that has been for the last couple of years. We've seen that to be a real move forward as well.
No, we got some good things happening, you know, it's
Modest times, but moving forward.
It's nice to be here, you know, we get through the doom and gloom of, you know, February, March, April, you know, May, when we're trying to get our budget approved, and, you know, things aren't going quite as we, you know, would like. But, you know, fortunately, we've been fortunate enough that, you know, we tend to get some better news during the summer. Unfortunately, you can't count on it.
Nope.
You know, so there's a good reason for some of the pessimism that we have in the springtime. But I'm glad that the good news came through again this year, and they were able to do something. So.
I will be contacting the nurse and the clerk tomorrow, but we'll also send out a letter. The appointment letters for the department heads will come from Josh. Those we have a couple of weeks to get them in the mailboxes, and we will post tonight or tomorrow morning. I asked Lauren to have it ready tonight. Going to give her a quick call and say, press the button, get it out there, and let's see what we can get.
Yeah.
And we'll hope to have the interviews underway by Wednesday of next week.
Great. Okay.
Great. Thank you very much again.
That wraps up our consent agenda, school business and operation managers report. Ms. Keegan, do you have any transfers and reclasses tonight? or
No, and
anything
no
else
other
to add?
business.
Okay.
No, I'm all
Great.
set. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Topics not anticipated? None. And we do not need an executive session this evening. So with that, I will be looking for a motion to adjourn at 5:32 this evening. Once again, just looking for a so moved. I'm trying to make it really easy here. A motion from Becky to adjourn at 5:32 and a second from Kelly. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. We are adjourned.